Hello, this is Safety Words for March 5th, 2026. How's everybody doing out there today? No, you made it through the week so far without incident. And remember, we're going right there into Friday. Welcome to the 5th season of this. I can't believe it's the 5th season already. We've taken many forms. I said you're going to be getting stuff differently this year than you have for the season here. And who knows, it may evolve, and people may say, I don't want to do this. I want to thank everybody out there for continuing to support us. We have some new listeners out there. I want to thank the listeners over in Monmouth County, New Jersey that just started listening this week. You know who you are. And what is this? I wrote a little something here today, and I wanted to read it for you. This is Safety Wars. I'm James Posel, Jim Posel, if you'd like. I'm a certified safety professional and certified hazardous materials manager for many years. Not that that really matters. We all know in safety you do not need credentials. You do not need letters after your name to be a safety professional or to work safely. On this program, we talk about something that most companies say they support, but very few understand. That is safety. You hear me? You're going to hear me, and you have heard me say it all the time on the show. There is a war on for your safety. Some people think it's just a slogan, a branding phrase, a little bit dramatic, maybe overly dramatic. But if you spent enough time on job sites, construction projects, factories, refineries, warehouses, wherever your work area is, wherever your context is, you know that it's not dramatic at all. It's accurate. Because every day across the United States and all around the world, a quiet conflict is happening. Not with bullets, not with tanks, but with decisions. Small decisions. Moments where someone decides whether the rules matter today. That conflict is the safety war. What's the battlefield? Most people think safety is about paperwork, policies, training classes, maybe a toolbox talk. But safety isn't fought in conference rooms. It's fought on the job site. It's fought in moments like this. A worker climbing a ladder that isn't tied off. A trench dug just a little too deep without protection. A machine guard removed because it slows production. A gas can with the flame arrestor removed. Someone standing near the edge of a roof without fall protection. And then what happens? Someone else notices, but says nothing. Those moments, those quiet little decisions, that's where the safety war is fought. You see, you have two forces. At the center of the war, there are two very powerful forces. The first force is production pressure. Deadlines, schedules, budgets, customer expectations, the voice that says, just get it done, don't slow the job, we've always done it this way. Nothing's going to happen. What's wrong with you? Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's happened before. That voice exists on every project and on every workforce, on every work site, in every company, every industry. Then there is the other force, safety. The person who asks the uncomfortable questions. Where's the hazard analysis? Why is that worker tied off? Why is that trench not protected? Why is that machine running without a guard? Why are we doing this job without the proper controls? And when those questions get asked, you can almost feel the tension in the air. Because safety introduces something that production hates. Not all the time, right? We don't introduce this all the time, but some type of delay is perceived. It's intangible. It's imaginary. Safety isn't about delay. Safety is about consequences. The consequences. When safety loses, the results are real. Injured workers, crushed workers, falls from height, electrocutions, chemical exposures, and sometimes fatalities. And every safety professional knows the moment that haunts them the most. The moment when someone says, "I wish we had stopped the job." Because after the accident, everyone sees the hazard clearly. But before the accident, the hazard competes with convenience, and convenience often wins. Safety professionals live in a strange place. We stand between two worlds. Workers on one side, management on the other. Regulators and other oversight people always in the background. Lawyers somewhere behind the curtain. And right in the middle is the safety professional. Sometimes respected, often ignored, often resented, but necessary. Because without someone willing to say stop, without willing to lead the workforce, the system drifts toward risk. Always. Every time. The real enemy, let's be honest about something. The enemy of safety is not the worker. The enemy of safety is not management. Most leaders don't want anyone hurt, even though on this program you will hear stories about leaders who maybe they don't want people hurt, but they're okay with getting people hurt if it gets the job done. The real enemies of safety are much older and much more dangerous. Complacency, the belief that nothing bad will happen today. Arrogance, I've been doing this for 25 years. Ignorance, I didn't know that was dangerous or illegal. Pressure, we have to finish today. And perhaps the most dangerous one of all, silence. When people see something wrong and people decide it's not their problem, those forces have killed more workers than any machine ever built. The hard truth is that everyone claims to support safety. Every company, every executive, every supervisor, every worker, until safety costs time, and it really doesn't cost time usually. Until safety costs money, and it usually doesn't cost money. It's only in people's heads. Until safety says, stop the work. That's when the safety war becomes visible. Because that's when people must decide, do we protect the schedule or do we protect the worker? Why do we exist, this program, Safety Wars? Not to just talk about regulations, although we sometimes do. Not just to talk about OSHA, EPA, and other government entities. Not just to talk about compliance, but to talk about the real conflict behind safety. The cultural conflict. The decision conflict. The moment when someone chooses whether risk matters, because every hazard identified, every unsafe act stopped, every worker protected and supported and cared about, when you do all that, that's a battle won. What's the mission? It's simple. Not easy, but simple. Protect the worker, control the risk, send everyone home alive and unharmed. That's it. No slogans, just decisions, good decisions made consistently, even when it's inconvenient. The safety war will never end because pressure never ends. Because deadlines never end. Human shortcuts never end. Which means the defense of workers must never end either. Tomorrow morning or on 1,000 job sites, someone will face a choice. ignore the hazard, or confront it. That choice is the safety war, and the mission remains the same. Protect the worker, control the risk, send everyone home alive and unharmed. This is Safety Wars. I'm James Posel. And remember, there's a war on for your safety. Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Hello, hello, hello. A somber opening. A serious one. Now what else are we? We try to confront. We try to entertain. We talk about the things no one else wants to talk about. We talk about the safety war. Now, war has many fronts. Another aspect to this war, psychological safety. Now, what do I mean by that? We talk about how not to be manipulated, how not to be effed around, how to recognize these situations. That's what the point of a lot of these programs are. You can say, well, why does that matter? It's usually not standing up for yourself, not standing up for your workforce, not recognizing when you're being taken advantage of, that's where the problems happen. So we're going to try to help you manage that. That's what we do. Now, on with the news. A little program and announcement here. We will not be covering the war. Right? So get tonight. Well, there's going to be a time when we do it. It's not going to be tonight. I will say this much. There's very little about what we could do about people who make decisions, the way the world is, what the government does, or anything else. What can we control? We can control ourselves and our situation. And that's where the focus needs to be. Today in Passaic, New Jersey, and yesterday, they had a phone outage in the whole county, Passaic County. So people look at me, well, why do you like this old technology? Walkie-talkies, CB radios, GMRS radios. I'm studying for the shortwave license. Why do you do this? Well, you may have a problem with communication one day. That'll never happen. Well, guess what? You want to talk about communication outages? And they're always going to happen at the worst possible time. My question is this. On the communication outage yesterday in Passaic, New Jersey, was that related at all to a cyber attack from Iran or proxies of Iran? My question. We can't do anything about it. But what can you do? You can put together a plan for your household, for your business, for your community. And when I say community, we're talking about people, maybe in your neighborhood. What's that communication plan? What are we going to do? Where are we going to meet in the event of an emergency we can't get home? What information are we going to carry? Are we going to actually go and write down phone numbers on a piece of paper and put it in our wallet and not keep them on the phone? So if the phone goes off, we have no phone numbers because nobody remembers phone numbers anymore, even me, right? So, again, why? Because we use the contacts on our iPhones, right? In my case, the iPhone, and everything else. How are you going to do that communication? Smoke signals? What are you going to do? That's right. So, again, disaster preparation. A lot of government press releases today. The one from the Department of Labor. Hold on. Did you like the Simple Sabotage last night? That was great. We're going to have to do that more formally here, not on a podcast. We're going to have to put together an actual training video on that with things. Right? Department of Labor, okay, DOL, press releases. Okay, here we go. Department of Labor press releases. So the Unemployment Insurance Weekly Claims Report came out today. This is released by the Department of Labor. The week ending February 28th, let's do a share screen here for your viewers at home. In the week ending February 28th, the advanced figure for seasonally adjusted initial claims was 213,000, unchanged from the previous week's revised total. The previous week's level was revised up by 1,000 from 212 to 213,000. The 4-week moving average was 215,750, a decrease of 4,750 from the previous week's revised average. The previous week's average was revised up by 250, blah, 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 blah. What does this mean? That means that they haven't collected all the data, usually. Why haven't they collected all the data? They haven't collected all the data because the statistics are late in coming in often. And they get peer-reviewed and reviewed otherwise and everything else. We're looking at the graph here, the unemployment graph from March 1st, 2025 to February 28th. Of last month, and you see everything's pretty much holding steady here. When you adjust things for seasonally adjusted initial claims and seasonally adjusted insured unemployment, all of the levels are the same. For the non-seasonally adjusted initial claim, again, we're between 200 and 300,000, a little bit or more in January and December. Not seasonally adjusted uninsured unemployment, right? And again, everything's tracking and is consistent here with this. Last year, it was a little bit less than some of these, some a little bit more. Again, why do we cover this? This is, again, another way that we get manipulated by all this stuff. Right? We get controlled and everything else. So we're here to give you that information and to tell you, go out, double check my information. Double, triple check, quadruple check if you feel the need. But go out there and get the information right from these sources, from VLS.gov, Bureau of Labor Statistics. Here, we covered these other stories here with this. The EPA .gov, right? I forgot to close it out from yesterday. That shows you how much I've been on the computer today. It's great. EPA.gov. All right. I tell you what, I got a lot of comments. I still am getting comments on the story the other day with the East Palestine, Ohio stuff where allegedly some people falsified some samples out there. Widespread. Again, that's the advantage of coming here. Why discuss this stuff? There's widespread discussion on that. EPA marks the cleanup progress, right, at the Hastings Groundwater Superfund site, the proposed solutions of operable units 2 and 10. This is from Lenexa, Kansas. U.S. EPA is proposing deletions of operable units 2 and 10 from the Hastings Groundwater Contamination Superfund site in Hastings, Nebraska, after achieving their respective cleanup goals. Again, like we said the other day, a lot of these here jobs are being cleaned up. Here, I mean, they've been doing this thing for decades on a lot of this. Here we go. The site was listed in 1986. And contains 7 subsites and 21 operable units. While we still have much work to do, the deletion of 2 operable units is a sign of progress and stewardship under EPA supervision. During cleanups, large and complex Superfund sites are often divided into distinct areas called operable units, OUs. Dividing Superfund sites into OUs may be done geographically or to address specific problems or mediums, such as groundwater or source soils, where specific cleanup actions are required. So these are 2 operable units here with this, where basically these sites, they're cleaned up. Here we have one for 40 years. You're going to see a lot more of these sites getting cleaned up in the next 5 years, regardless of who the administration is. No, they're at the end. You can only do so much. And then they move into ongoing monitoring and things of that nature. With stuff where they get redeveloped, often with these restrictions, sometimes not. All right, and EPA and DEQ announced completion of swift asbestos removal activities in Park City, Montana. U.S. EPA is in coordination with Montana Department of Environmental Quality has successfully completed time-critical cleanup actions of asbestos-containing vermiculite at Park City School in Park City, Montana. The swift cleanup helped reopen neighborhood streets and public spaces, supported by the safe return of students and restored daily routines for families across Park City. The successful completion of this time-critical asbestos removal reflects the strength of cooperative federalism in action. Federal, state, and local partners coming together with the community to deliver swift, effective results. Sub-Regional Administrator Cyrus Western. EPA led this cleanup and ensured it was conducted efficiently and transparently with the health of the community as our top priority, with the partnership of the Montana Department of Environmental Quality, Stillwater County, and the residents of Park City. There's some nice photos there. Looks like the person there is holding a garden hose for some dust control. EPA crews cleared asbestos-containing vermiculite across 16 residential properties, 19 road segments. So they're excavating the asbestos and everything and replacing it with clean fill. Here's the background. On December 17, 2025, heavy winds damaged portions of the Park City school roof. After the roof was damaged, asbestos-containing vermiculite contaminated the inside of the school, the exterior of the school property, and some properties adjacent to the school. Inspections from the school district's insurance contractor confirmed the vermiculite contained asbestos. Montana DEQ issued an emergency permit to the school for removing asbestos containing vermiculite inside the school building and outside the school. The property was closed to students and cleanup began immediately within the school property lines. However, there were no local resources available to conduct the cleanup of the properties outside the school property lines. On January 12, 2026, DEQ requests assistance from EPA Region 8 to address potential asbestos contamination identified beyond the boundaries of the school property. So my question is, where did that contamination come from? Was it from, right, that's the context here. Was it from this incident with the school, or was it pre-existing there? That's why it's important with all this stuff that a lot of people do pre and post sampling on anything to do with residential or commercial work when it has to do with soil, contaminated soil. Reason being it's an insurance policy. What do you mean, Jim? I was on a job in West Point, New York, yes, the U.S. Military Academy, back in the early to mid 1990s. And what happened was the soil all around there, and by the way, this is all now on the congressional record and everything else is my understanding. And by the way, that's all the records are public, right? It's a government job. And what happened was my boss had me go and collect soil samples around all the areas where we were abating and removing lead from residential housing. This was across the street from the PX on Ray. Our office was on Raymore Loop. But there used to be houses by the PX there, by the cemetery, if you're familiar, and also on some of the other streets in there. And what happened? My belief is that the Army Corps of Engineers was going to blame us for all the contamination out there, because they're out there. And what my boss said was simple. Good. These samples have been sitting in the laboratory for since the beginning of the job. Want us to analyze them? No. We're going to forget about it. Right? Because the stuff, and it turns out that stuff was contaminated by lead, and there were paint chips there. So that's why you collect samples prior to doing that. And by the way, if you right, that's exactly what happened. I didn't mention names with that, and then people wonder why I don't trust a lot of people after that. It's 25 years old. I knew what the game these people play. And these were some of the other things on the EPA website. Let me share it. Here, powering the Great American Comeback, reaching an agreement permanently on Tijuana River crisis. We have discussed that as well here the other day, but basically nothing, the needle did not move on this issue for a long time until now. Now they're going to be cleaning up the Tijuana River with this, and doing government planning and everything else. Good thing. I mean, what did we not cover? Again, if you look through here, you have a lot of good news here, what the EPA brings here and what they've been doing here all the time. And again, this is one of the reasons why the government agencies, like the CSV, Chemical Safety Board, and some of the other more obscure ones that are necessary, need to continue pointing out what they're doing. Why? Because then, people think, well, that they're useless, and we should cut them because we never hear them, hear about them. And yeah, that does happen. All right. And we're going to go to our first commercial break here, and we will be back in a minute. I'll line up the rest of the program here.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
Unpredictable world. One voice rises above the chaos. Meet Jim Polzo, a seasoned safety expert who's navigated through some of the most dangerous scenarios, from anthrax, explosive cleanups, disasters, and numerous environmental cleanups, and lived to tell the tale. Now he's bringing his wealth of knowledge, insights, and experiences to you through Safety Wars. From workplace hazards to the hidden dangers in your own home, Jim covers it all with his engaging storytelling. Safety Wars isn't just a podcast, it's your guide to a safer world. Join Jim Polzo and become part of the Safety Wars revolution. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos. Safety Wars. Your safety is our mission.
Have you listened or watched the Safety War show? It does stream live on the radio and on the streamer-emers that we have. So if you have not taken a listen to Jim Polzo and what the hell he's doing every evening with Safety Wars, I would strongly encourage you to take a view or take a listen, whichever option is available for you, and take a listen to what the hell he has going on. It will take some deep dives in some information that you might be interested in.
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Polzel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
Yes, Jessica, I am your father. some other news out there over the last couple of days.
Steel toe boots by the job site gate. Clipboard heavy with a weight of fate. Just sign
Now, this we had guys here talking on the project that this actually happened around their neighborhood, and the importance, people don't realize New Jersey. I talk about New Jersey here because it's my home territory here, and I feel like I can give you the best commentary on this here. This is from the U.S. Sun. Massive explosion rocked the New Jersey town Wednesday afternoon, sending at least 4 people into the hospital. Locals were told to shelter in place until further notice as smoke continued to fill the area. The Gloucester, as spelled Gloucester County, that's in South Jersey, around Philadelphia, on the New Jersey side. Emergency management has confirmed there was a building explosion on Wednesday afternoon in Logan Township. Now, this is where it becomes a little bit, I don't know. The response is funny, right? But, like a lot of news crews in their haste to get to the job site ended up going to the wrong place. Right? So, boom. In New Jersey, there is only one incorporated Logan municipality, Logan Township. Logan Township is located in Essex County, which is in North Jersey, and settled in 1820. So this is Logan in Gloucester County, New Jersey, which is a municipality there. With that, the township of Logan is also in, and are you confused now, in South Jersey. So you had all these people go to this fire, reportedly from a propane tank, right? Running up to Essex County. And on the other end, from New York, heading in down to Essex County, where they should have been in South Jersey. Very, very confusing. New Jersey has like 5 Washingtons in it with that. China is about to show the world its plan to win the future. China spent the last 5 years cultivating innovation and new technology at home. The next half-decade will be dedicated to deploying the fruits of its labor to transform its economy and its place in the world. This is from CNN. Analysis by Simone McCarthy. That's said to be an overarching message on thousands of delegates from across China, as thousands of delegates from across China gather in the nation's capital for the 2 sessions. A carefully choreographed annual meeting where the country's leadership signals its priorities for the year ahead, and its rubber-stamped legislature approves them. The pomp and ceremony of the gathering has long served as a symbol of China's tightly controlled political process, and Beijing's authoritarian leaders are well aware of the juxtaposition that creates as the U.S., the world's most powerful democracy. Again, I'm shocked CNN would even say that. Is riven with partisan infighting and engaged in another spiraling conflict in the Middle East. At the top of the agenda this time is around approving the 15th 5-year plan, a blueprint for how Beijing aims to drive its economic growth into the next decade. Details of the new plan have been hashed out behind closed doors by leader Xi Jinping, inner circle for over months. Now, over 3,000 members of the National People's Congress will greenlight the document, likely with some tweaks based on the lawmakers' feedback, with a ceremonial vote live stream across the country. ICE has spun a massive, and this is from NPR, ICE has spun a massive surveillance web we talked to people caught in it. On an evening in late January, Emily was driving through her Minneapolis neighborhood. doing something that had become part of her routine in recent weeks, patrolling for ICE. Emily, who NPR is only identifying by her first name because she fears of retribution from the federal government, says she followed an ICE vehicle at a safe distance into a parking lot, and then someone leaned out of the passenger side of that SUV and took a picture of me in my car. Emily says she decided to leave at that point, but the SUV made a sudden U-turn and barreled towards her, braking next to her driver's side window. A female agent wearing a gator-style mask rolled down the window, leaned down, and addressed Emily by name. She yelled, Emily, we're going to take you home." Then she looked at her phone, and she recited my home address. Emily said she did not acknowledge the agents and drove away, but was so shaken that she didn't drive home, afraid the agents might follow her there. Instead, she went to a nearby restaurant and waited for hours. "I don't know how they pulled my information up, if they had something on me already or if they pulled my registration," she says. "Their message was not subtle, right? They were in effect saying, 'We see you, we can get to you whenever we want to.' And it did scare me." Okay, now, how long has this surveillance state been going on, this surveillance, do you think? We had a conversation with one of my coworkers today on one of my projects. Actually, more than one. And I said, this has been going on since at least World War II. We know that. World War II set up you could not send mail over to wherever your loved one is fighting in a war or overseas because it costs a lot of money, right? And it costs a lot of resources to go and divvy up letters and fly them over the ocean and everything else. And plus things had to be screened and everything, right? So the U.S. government set up a program where they were actually going out there and microfilming all of these letters, especially ones coming back from over in Europe over here. They were all microfilmed, and then they were printed out and then given to the relatives and distributed over here. Now, sometimes they did get real letters, is my understanding, but more common microfilm, especially going the other way. So here's the thing, that set up a whole system. Sometime in the right after World War II, and this was only discovered in the mid-2000s, virtually every piece, and this is not conspiracy theory, you can go out and look this up, virtually every piece of mail, first class, in the United States was photographed and put on microfilm. You're going to say, hold on, for your younger people, and it still, I think, works in libraries. When you wanted to go back and before the internet and look things up, you had to go into they had indexes in the libraries, and you actually had to go and look, let's say you want to look up something in the New York Times, they have the entire New York Times, the entire print on microfilm, and you would have to go to a reader, and it projected a negative of whatever the microfilm was, and then you would print it out or write on it, and you'd see these machines lined up, right? And it was little spools, like movie theater spools of film. And that's what they did for years. Now you're going to say, why would the government do that? How was discovered was a former terrorist from one of the environmental groups. It was either Earth Liberation Front or another group like that. Okay, don't quote me. Well, you can quote me. I said that. I'm not exactly sure which one. With that, Earth Liberation Front or Environmental Liberation Front, something like that. And the man paid his price. He was no longer a terrorist, but the government had him under surveillance, specifically to see, again, before email and right, where the mail goes here and what mail he was receiving, where he was sending it. So now it was what happened was one day, by accident, they left his mail in a envelope that said for further screening or something like that, and put it in his mailbox. And he started to ask questions, and he had been under surveillance because they were trying to data mine where he was getting mail and who he was sending mail to had been going on since World War II, essentially, they believe, in this country. So that's where it became thing with the surveillance web, surveillance state, data mining. All the phone calls are measured. This program, I actually know for a fact, is being listened to by people in the administration. I know it for a 100% fact. Right? Because I mentioned a couple of policy changes that they should make in the environmental world, and guess what? They made them. Right? And it was on stuff that really doesn't matter. It would never make the news, but they did make some policy decisions. I'm not going to say which ones. That's confidential with that. So, again, this has been going on, and I'm shocked that people are shocked that they know about this, that they've never realized this. Not only, again, that little shark fin on the back of cars as of late. I think I had a 2011 Chevy, and it was on there. I got rid of about 2 years ago. It was on there. I'm sure it was, I wasn't paying attention. I'm sure it was early 2000s. A lot of cars had that. They're able to control the car from remotely, not steering, even though that's probably, they're going to be able to do it if they can't do that already with the smart technology in automobiles like the Tesla with the self-drive features. I'm sure that they can or soon will be able to do that, but they used to be able to tell the location as well as they could turn the car off or on or anything else. I mean, I have the Chevy app on here. I'm able to turn the car on or off, know where my car is. Guess what? We're shocked with this. We're shocked that they have license plate reader technology now. It's available in the consumer market. License plate readers. I saw an advertisement for it the other day where maybe you can't look up who it is, so you can take photos of license plates. All different types of technology out there. And it's being used both ways. We know that because ICE has been surveilled by people in Minnesota. ICE has been followed. There are computer programs, computer apps, what we used to call listservs back in the day, with, hey, this is where ICE is, this is where this is what law enforcement is doing. So there's surveillance all over the place. Samsung had a warning on their smart TVs where you could be surveilled, you could be recorded. Watch out what you say and do in front of your TV. Everyone was called a conspiracy theorist over it. Then later on they admitted this. We were told for close to 50 years that DNA samples were not and have never been collected by the government of newborn babies. Right? Turns out 3 or 4 years ago, we covered it on this show. They are doing that. So the surveillance is all over the place. Now, are there pros and cons to it? Yes. I feel that this drop in crime that we are seeing here in this country, violent crime, is in part because of surveillance. Talking to the old-time security professionals out there, which my former business partner was one, he noticed that when he was one of the first ones to install consumer-grade surveillance systems out there, and some commercial-grade ones, that when you did that, guess what? Crime seemed to, at least you weren't as easy a target on crime. Starting in the 80s, and there's some conflicting information out there. Well, I can't say conflicting. I'm going to say controversial information from people like Dr. John Lott, More Guns, Less Crime, that when people in the neighborhood are armed, guess what? There's less certain types of crime in that neighborhood. Less victim-to-victim type crime or person-on-person crime there. Guess what? Again, right, when the technology starts to go all over the place. Guess what? Now you have lower crime. Or at least, it's not lower, it gets transferred to doing other things. Maybe more fraud, more white-collar crimes, more things of that nature. Again, I'm shocked that people are shocked that this is going on. And I think this is all part of the manipulation game that we talk about all the time. Well, what do you mean, Jim? Well, people are now becoming aware. They think, well, this happened under the current administration. This happened because of Donald Trump. This happened blah, 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 because of Joe Biden. Blah, blah. Now, this has been going on for an awfully long freaking time, people. I'm glad that people are finally coming out there and being awake. And you know what I had to say about that?
From the front lines of the safety war, it's Safety Wars, with your host, Jim Posel on Safety FM. Get ready to face the harsh reality.
Yes, that's a harsh reality we need to face out there. We're going to go again to some commercials, and we will get back to you here. Hold on. Why is it that none of the touch things want to work today, even on my truck?
This is gonna blow your mind. There's a new daytime talk show on your local cable access station. What happens when safety, scandal, and heartbreak collide? Welcome to Safety Wars, the talk show. Today's episode is a doozy. Imagine confronting your unsafe supervisor who just happens to be your ex-wife's new hubby. Talk about a powder keg. But wait, there's more. We've got an exclusive interview with a corporate exec who's taken out life insurance policies on his riskiest workers, hoping to cash in on a deadly mishap. Yup, you heard that right. It's a real-life plot twist you can't make up. Tune in as Jim Posel, CSP, our very own Jerry Springer of safety, dives deep into this explosive confrontation. Sparks will fly and secrets will be exposed. Catch the full episode on Safety Wars on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform. Don't miss out on the drama that could save your life. Like and share now, and stay safe, folks.
This harkens on back to our introduction there.
Can't let it show. Don't rock the safety boat. Keep it smooth, keep it afloat. Dance on high, but don't provoke. Don't rock the safety boat.
Always rock the safety boat. Because that's what we do here. We give pushback. We try to enable people. We try to inspire people. We try to lead people. That's what we do. This came out just before the end of the workday. Thanks to President Trump, this is from the Department of Homeland Security, their press release. They are shut down, but they are still issuing press releases. Thanks to President Trump and Secretary Noem, America is safer. I like the way she spells her name, Noem. Sort of like Posel, Poesl. That's me. People asked, Jim, what is your favorite word? I said, proposal. And they were looking at me, huh? I said, well, yeah, think about it. Under the leadership of Secretary Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security has its most successful period ever. Now President Trump has asked her to continue her work to make America safe again as a special envoy for the Shield of the Americas, Western Hemisphere. This is a quote from her. Thank you, President Trump, for appointing me as Special Envoy for the Shield of the Americas, Western Hemisphere. Never heard of the Shield of Americas. Secretary Rubio and Secretary Hegseth are incredible leaders, and I look forward to working with them to closely dismantle cartels that have poured drugs into our nation and killed our children and grandchildren, said Secretary Noem. The Western Hemisphere is absolutely critical for U.S. security. In this new role, I will be able to build on the partnerships and national security expertise I forged over my time as Secretary of Homeland Security. We have made historic accomplishments at the Department of Homeland Security to make America safe again. We delivered the most secure border in American history. 3 million illegal aliens have left the U.S. We have now located 145,000 children. That's out of the 300+ thousand that went MIA over the Biden administration. I'm adding that, not her. FEMA delivered disaster relief at a 100% faster rate. I don't know what that means. We ushered in the golden age of travel, saved the American taxpayer $13 billion, and revitalized the U.S. Coast Guard. Let me say this. The United States Coast Guard has been like the bastard child of the United States with the funding and everything else, and they got a huge increase in funding here. They're going to be getting more cutters and everything else. That's Coast Guard cutters, a ship, right? A large, most countries call them corvettes there, right? But with us, they call them cutters. President Trump and Secretary Noem restored the rule of law. So this is their PR thing. Border enforcement. Under Secretary Noem, U.S. Customs and Border Protection recorded its lowest border crossing totals in agency history during the past year, thanks to the end of the catch and release program, consistent use of detention and removal authorities, and a clear message that our borders are closed. Drug seizures. As the nation's frontline border security agency, CBP, seized 617,000 plus pounds of illicit drugs nationwide, an 8% increase over the previous year. The big, beautiful bill funding. President Trump signed a landmark $65 billion border security bill, the largest investment in border security in a generation. Under Secretary Noem, DHS began a successful implementation of this bill. Under Secretary Noem's leadership, DHS arrested and deported hundreds of thousands of criminal illegal aliens across the country. And there are other details here also. And let's talk about the Coast Guard here. The U.S. Coast Guard is smashing records and being revitalized in one of the world's most elite fighting forces that can meet the challenges of the 21st century. Through Force Design 2028, we'll talk about what that is, actually, with that. Probably. Got to write that down. The Coast Guard is implementing major structural reforms, including the establishment of a deployable Specialized Forces Command, expansion of training capacity, and rapid acquisition of next-generation assets. That's new boats and helicopters. The Coast Guard crews saved over 5,200 lives and protected more than $1 billion in property through thousands of search and rescue missions and rapid responses to major contingencies. Force Design 2028 drove record-setting recruitment, exceeding 100% of active duty enlisted goals and accessing over 6,000 new members, the highest since 1991. The Coast Guard is on track to expand the force by 15,000 members, ensuring mission-ready workforce to meet evolving demands. The Coast Guard used advanced unmanned systems and intelligence-driven patrols to secure over 100,000 miles of U.S. border by interdicting, deterring, and transporting over 12,000 illegal aliens, which increased interdictions by 44% in key regions. The Coast Guard enabled the safe movement of $8 billion tons of cargo. And they've been supporting the Departments of War, Justice, and State, and leading operations against dark fleet ships. Restored excellence at the Secret Service. So Secretary Noem restored the American people's confidence in the Secret Service. And it goes on and on and on. With that, they fixed federal disaster response and assisted in other things. Again, I'm going to say this much. It's much easier in life when you are organized. And one of the things I have to get, whether you like the guy or not, agree with him or not, the president is using his experience in business, and everything is about advertising here, putting out your name in a good way, putting out what the things are doing out there, what the agencies are doing, what he's doing, and now whether you like it or not, the information is getting out there on a lot of this stuff here, and they're lining up. I'll get a little political here. They're lining up for campaign 2028, the big kahuna campaign here, the presidential campaign, and also, to a lesser extent, the midterm elections. On a certain level, I think he only cares that the Republicans retain the majority in the House and the Senate here with that. That's what the goal is here. And when you are organized like this, now let's say that you're in a predominantly Republican district or state and you're running for election. If you are part of this, this is, right, I just gave you your campaign literature. Or he gave you the campaign literature here. Everything here. Now, this is to also, let's not forget, Kristi Noem has had a rough couple of weeks testifying to Congress and everything else here. And this is, I think, again, she's being transferred into another position, which is very important also. But now this gives you the, what she did, what she accomplished. And it's right, and Trump is very loyal, from what I understand, to his own people. And this is like a very nice thank you or goodbye letter for her for that position. Again, makes her look good, makes the president look good, makes everything look good, everything wonderful, and everything else. And we'll cover some other news here with this. Here, a lot of good things they're doing here. I'll real quick. We'll share it now. America is safer. Coast Guard announces new training center in Alabama. ICE arrests pedophiles, child predators, and drug traffickers. ICE arrests gang members, pedophiles, drug, right? And they changed the order, right? With that, again, 23 years anniversary of this organization. So, again, good luck on her new thing. I don't know who they're going to replace her with. Let's go real quick here, see if they announce who's her replacement. Who is Noem's replacement? Her replacement is Senator Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma. Again, he picked someone from a solid Republican place. Most likely, a Republican legislature will put a replacement in there until there's the next election, whatever the law is in Oklahoma here. So I know nothing about this gentleman here, Mark Wayne Mullen. Know nothing about him. I'm sure we'll find out about him in the next couple of weeks, or when they go for confirmation hearings. And that's all I have for tonight. This is Safety Wars with Jim Posel. Welcome to our new season, and it's going to be fun this year. For Safety FM, Safety Wars, good night.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.